This is the nicest e-bike I've ever built. At its core is the Unno Mith, a carbon enduro frame designed in Barcelona with 160mm of rear travel and a striking silhouette. It's powered by the Avanox system, which has a 800-watt battery and it delivers up to 1000 watts of peak power, and it makes it one of the lightest full-power e-bikes out there. And this isn't just my nicest build, it's the most ultimate e-bike I've ever created. The frame itself, when it's just on the stand, looks so small, and the DJI motor, or the Avanox motor, is 2.5 kilos, compact, 1000 watts, 120 Newton meters. Battery's already in there. I've popped all the cables and stuff inside already to prepare it. Details are really impressive. The chainstay protector goes all the way around here, all the way up into the inside. All of the plastics to cover the ports are just well made, well engineered. I can tell a lot of care and detail has gone into it. And let's not forget Unno, or their kind of parent company, Thero Designs, design bikes for loads of different brands, like loads of different brands from e-bikes to mountain bikes to moto. So they're not a small player, they're not a newbie in this space. To do this frame justice, I've built it with a hand-picked selection of parts. Every component was chosen for performance, reliability, and just a bit of style. I'm going to go with these SRAM Maven brakes. I've used pretty much every brake out on the market, and the power that you get from these is immense, really. In fact, I've started to run smaller rotors, so I can run a 200mm rotor on the front and a 200mm on the rear. So I'm actually going to wrap a little bit of electrical tape around the brake cable, and what this is going to do is it's just going to pad it out slightly, so when it's in the frame it's not going to have as much slap. Even though it's got cable runs inside, sometimes it can still create a little bit of a rattle, but just by padding it out ever so slightly, I'm going to do small, maybe 2 or 3 of these. It should hopefully stop any of that movement. The runs inside, the tubing is seamless, so you just push it through and it comes out at the end of the chainstay. And I think it's the first bike that I've worked on that you can put the cable straight through the chainstay and it comes out the other side. A lot of them, although they have space for cables, you have to kind of fish them out. This was like £6 just to stop any rattles inside. This is like a vinyl rubberized kind of polyfoam. One of the things that I don't especially like about these VPP through the kind of seat tube suspension layouts is it does limit the amount of dropper insertion you can get because there's a big suspension spring or air shock in the way. I'm kind of limited to 210 and I'm 191 centimeters, and since using a 240mm dropper I really like it. This is a 210 Fox transfer, the latest one. I'm intrigued to see how far down it will actually sit. I'm going to pop a bit of carbon paste on here, a little bit of friction when that goes in. But I actually like to use the smallest dropper width. These are 30.9s, and I actually use shims because fatter droppers actually weigh quite a little bit more, and the shims are very, very small. They don't weigh anything, and you can save a couple 100 grams by using a thinner 30.9 dropper. Is that as far as it will go? I think that's it. I think we hit the limit. There's no like seat tube collar. Actually, you have to lift this little part up here, and that's where the seat collar screw is to actually secure the seat post, and then it's totally hidden. It's well clean. Installing the Avanox motor wasn't as straightforward as some others. The fit is tight. Unno have minimised every bit of wasted space inside the frame to keep the bike as slim and compact as possible. It means tolerances are close, but the result is a super clean integration where the motor almost disappears into the frame. So I'm going to try an Öhlins coil shock on the bike. Now, this has been tuned for a VPP bike, and it's not the exact tune for this bike, but I'm curious to find out how it works with this, and If it does need a retune, I'll send it off because tuning can make quite a big difference. The shocks use an Earth 480-pound spring, and it delivers 160mm of rear travel on this frame. It sits neatly under the seat tube, and that low slung layout helps keep the centre of gravity as low as possible. Easy thing with this is the bearings just dropping straight in. There's no press, there's no headset cups, which does mean there's no like reach adjustment or angle adjustment, but saves a little bit of weight, and you can just pop the bearings straight in. There's no need to like mess around with any pressing. Fox 38 Podium Gold. Nip that up. These 1-up 50mm bars, they're quite a nice shape. 50mm. I'm tall, so I like experimenting with high-rise bars. In fact, I've used some as high as 65, some of the Bergtechs, but I'll start off with these 1-ups. 50mm. I actually quite like the feel of these bars. So for the wheels, for the first time I'm going to use some of these E13 carbon wheels. However, this has got their new Sidekick hub on. Now, I've been using O-chain on some of the Bosch bikes, but you can't get an O-chain for this. O-chain essentially removes pedal kickback and makes the bike quieter, less force ascent through the drivetrain into your feet. But what Sidekick does is it eliminates it right at the source. So it essentially is going to remove all of the drivetrain feedback through the pedals by having a little bit of free float on the rear. There's about 18 degrees, or there's a few other settings as well, but initially I've set it up on the maximum amount of float that you can have. You can unscrew it, take the wheel out, and you can change it quite easily. So if I pull this out, I can actually change the amount of float with this red adjuster in here. So it's got 15, 12 or 18. So 12 is short, 15 medium, 18 is on the wide. I'm just going to align those two arrows, set it up on the widest amount of float. But the reason I'm doing this is because typically VPP has a little bit more pedal kickback. So as the suspension compresses, the chain pulls on the chainring and that force is sent through to your foot. This should eliminate a lot of that pedal force. And I'm hoping that it reduces some of the kind of rattle that you get on the Avinox motor. The Avinox has a little bit of inherent rattle. It's not an actual fault with the motor, it's inherent to the design. And I do think that this might help reduce some of that pulling on the chainring and reduce some of that clatter noise. With more of the build coming together, it's starting to really take shape, and you can already see how amazing this bike is going to look. It's slim, aggressive, and pretty different to anything else out there. The derailleur is wired into the main battery, so it takes the power, so you don't need to remember to charge anything additionally other than the main battery. But the cool thing is that it has smooth shift built into it, which allows you to shift gears while you're coasting. So your pedals are level, you can press the controller to shift, which is really cool, and it really helps when you're riding out on the trail. No messing with Axis batteries, it's all hardwired in. I'm going to try these shorter crank arms. These are E13 Helix carbon crank arms. Nice and light, they're 155mm. We are 90% of the way, maybe 95% of the way. Everything's gone pretty seamlessly. I just need to sort the dropper out, put the bash plate on, torque everything up, bleed the brakes, and that is it. And with the final pieces in place, the build is complete. Out in natural light, the Unno Mith really comes alive. The lines of the frame and the details of the build, everything just looks next level. And despite being a full power enduro bike with big battery and proper enduro build, It weighs just 22.2 kilos, and for a bike this capable, that number is seriously impressive. So here it is. I think actually it looks stunning. The shapes and the lines that you see in real life are pretty much unlike anything that I've seen elsewhere. The top tube is slung super low, and it actually makes the seat tube look quite high, but it's not. It's only 440 millimeters in XL. And the lines and the shapes on it just give it this very, very, I don't know, like supercar type of look. And that unique carbon layup just sets it apart from pretty much any other bike out there. I've never seen any bike that has the carbon weave showing, and it's got a clear coat on the top just to make it look nice and glossy. I will be doing a full ride video because it's such a curious bike and there's quite a lot to talk about. I've ridden it for about 45 minutes so far, but it needs a good couple of days out on the trails. So subscribe if you want to be the first to see that.